listening. Yeah, you. I need you to rate and subscribe the After School Special podcast. Let us know how we're doing and what kind of episodes you want to hear. Thanks! Introducing from the rough streets of Brooklyn, New York, Dapper Don Dicey! And from the great state of California, Salacious Statman! And from the hardcore streets of Detroit, Michigan, we have the effervescent E. And from the very white of any suburb town, USA, giant crybaby bitch, Aaron Smith. Welcome to After School Special Podcast. We're talking wrestling. That's what we're fucking talking about. We're talking nostalgia, the memories, the fights. Mainly one in particular. WrestleMania 3. The one that we all agreed on when we think wrestling, we think WrestleMania, and we think David versus Goliath, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. And we do have a special guest with us today, the effervescent E.
Yes, sir. I'm so happy to be back again. Thank you for having me.
Welcome back, sir. And you, my friend, already talking to you about some of this stuff, because I loved wrestling as a kid. And kind of even going into later years, because I got back into it recently. But it was tough, man. Wrestling in general, was multiple factions broken up as much as possible. And I know you said that it's hard to determine how many
territories.
You also had outlaw territories, so it was really hard to determine how many there were at the time. But I guess you could technically say that WCW and WWE, when going into the golden age of wrestling, or at least those were the ones like 90s, 93, somewhere around there. Like, that's where all territories kind of just dissipated, and it was more or less a monopoly. They were competing against each other.
Definitely. By the time, essentially, by 1987, the territories that had been a thriving business for 50 years at that point was essentially killed, and it was the WWF, WCW/NWA, and you had AWA and ECW as kind of always that third promotion. But by and large, the big two, the WWF and the WCW.
Yeah, the ones that I remember were, for sure, well, WWF, now WWE, because the World Wildlife Foundation was like, fuck you, we're all about the pandas.
We've been here first. We added first.
Yeah, WCW is now defunct. Thank you, Eric Bischoff. Right now, what we have is, WWE, AEW?
AEW, All Elite Wrestling. But All Elite Wrestling is more or so some recycled wrestlers, too, coming back.
Yep.
To do it, so, because they recently just had Sting come back. And
how many times is Sting going to come back, Eric?
Well, Jesus Christ, man. I thought he'd be in a walker by now.
I love that guy.
No, don't get me wrong. I love Sting, but
I do too.
He is not getting any younger.
No, he isn't. But it's still good to see him because, a couple years ago, he was supposed to have received a career ending and perhaps life, or at least physically, by receiving a power bomb, a buckle bomb by Seth Rollins that legitimately did a number on him. So it's great to see the man back healthy and in a rival company to the WWF. Or WWE.
Oh, yeah, man.
Are they a legitimate rival?
Not just yet. I mean, they are on a national program, but I don't believe that Vince McMahon and the higher-ups in the WWE, call it arrogance, I don't believe that they legitimately feel threatened by
and that's
not yet.
Yeah, that's where I'm like kind of, because if you go on Reddit, there is a huge push for AEW. Huge push. And right there is telling you where the tables are going to turn. And, you know, not to get too off on the new stuff because we're going to talk a lot about the old wrestling. But I do think that what you said, arrogance wise, I don't think they're realizing how much competition is gonna build through that, especially when everything opens up again. Because mind you, AEW started a little bit before the pandemic hit. Yes. And they survived a pandemic where you're seeing WWE's ratings plummet.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to see all those guys in front of a live crowd. But
well, they kind of did what Dana White did for the UFC, right? Didn't they? They didn't get their own island, like Fight Island, but they were like in Florida doing a lot of the matches, right?
Yes.
Without audiences, they were just, which was weird because they were like try to like hype it up, but it was no one there, so it was just like
it's kind of hard without the fans there.
Like, yeah, come on, put your hands up. Like, who are you talking to? A ghost? But
you could hear all the farts going on as they're running back and forth. Well, I was going to say my earliest memory of wrestling, and not to bring up a character that we brought up before in my past, the person's name is Pat, had come over and brought over, I believe, I can't remember if it was WrestleMania or if it was SummerSlam. It was Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter.
That would have been WrestleMania 7.
Was it WrestleMania 7 where Slaughter like turned into this whole like, what is it, Iraq type, the dictator?
The Iraqi turncoat, Saddam Hussein. Yeah, he was along with Saddam Hussein. But I remember Hogan lost that match. And mind you, we were one of them. See, that's where it's like, I don't know if it was WrestleMania, but I remember him losing that match because Pat started crying and grabbing my shirt. And he got...
You guys had some good times together.
Yeah, he works for the U.S. government now. But yeah, that was one of the earliest memories. And like, from there, I'm sure, I don't know if you guys did this, but we all did the backyard wrestling and whatnot. But we went a little far with it, where he had a lot of land. So, we get crappy tables and whatnot and chairs, and we hit each other with them. So I probably have a little CTE going on right now.
So you were doing the table, ladders, chairs before it became a thing, huh?
Oh, yeah. Now, that was when we were a little bit older, not as children, but as children, we were doing the wrestling moves and whatnot. But that is my earliest memory.
That was you said WrestleMania 7 was your earliest?
That's the one that I can remember. Like I said, CTE, man. That's, you get hit in the head so many times with chairs.
It was just weird because I read that Regis Philbin was helping with the commentary.
Yes, he was at WrestleMania 7.
And Alex Trebek.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe it was Willie Nelson at WrestleMania 7 performed America the Beautiful.
Yes. And they said Macaulay Culkin was there, Donald Trump was there, Chuck Norris was there.
Well, now those were spread amongst various...
Yeah, they were just in the audience.
Well, do you agree with this, E, that because what I read was WrestleMania 3 was like the pinnacle of golden age of wrestling?
Yes, and just let me say this. Everybody knows that guy or that girl who claims that Michael Jackson's my cousin, or, Michael Jordan is my dad's best friend. So now I never want to be that guy, obviously, and quite frankly, I despise those people. But that being said, I was privileged to be at WrestleMania 3. And when I share this with people, it is almost as if I said that I was in Dallas in 1963, November.
Oh, my God.
You weren't there, but I was there. And it was one of the most memorable experiences of my life. I literally came out of the womb a wrestling fan, and it was great. It really was a phenomenal experience that I cherish into this day. So, yes, but to answer your question, Aaron, that was until we got into the Attitude Era in about 98. That was the pinnacle of golden age professional wrestling. I mean, we couldn't go any you couldn't go any higher after that.
I was going to say, do you think the problem is maybe it got too commercialized? Because then they started doing, like, what is it? It almost looked, or maybe it was before, I'm not sure who did it before, but like when the Bears won the Super Bowl and they did the, the rap song and everything.
Oh, yeah, the
Super Bowl Shuffle.
Super Bowl Shuffle.
But then, like, wrestlers started doing their own soundtracks. You know, that's where we get, you know, Hogan, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, a couple other wrestlers.
Nikolai Volkov?
Yeah, Nikolai Volkov.
Yes.
It's all coming back to me now.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Andre and Princess Bride. That's
Hogan and fucking
Mr. Nanny.
Mr. Nanny. What was the other one?
Bar.
What was the other one where he's the space commando?
Suburban Commando.
Suburban Commando. He's in that one. And then let us not forget Bam Bam Bigelow and Major Payne.
Oh, yes.
Payne! I heard you couldn't cut it in the real man's war.
Oh, God.
I don't want to kill anybody off, but is he dead?
Yes,
Damn.
unfortunately.
Okay. Jesus.
Which
Please.
a lot of throughout this, when we're talking about some of these wrestlers, you will realize that most of them have died. And that's kind of the sad part, is that most of them don't have very long lives.
No, they don't. And, you know, just to bring it a little more current, we talked about this before, where a lot of wrestlers they were trying to get compensation for CTE because of the damage that was being done to them, and the WWE doesn't give them health insurance. So they were trying to get, you know, the Supreme Court to make a judgment on it, and unfortunately the Supreme Court shot it down, and the lower court had the final ruling on it. So it's really a sad outcome to these men who have put their bodies on the line. You know, as a wise man once said, it's still real to me, damn it.
I'd like to get Eric's input on that. Like, how do you feel about the CDs? What am I saying?
Well, in
CTE.
terms of,
Thank you. God damn it.
in terms of what John just mentioned, I think it was accurate simply because, as Aaron introduced, there's so many territories, there's so many, or was so many promotions, that how could you, because that lawsuit was directed at World Wrestling Entertainment, so how can you say that all of these concussions and all of these poor health things came from the WWE? However, I do think it's awful how the WWE, all of the wrestlers don't have health insurance, and they're labeled as independent contractors, and that's just wrong. That's just wrong. There is no union, there is no pensions. You know, you pay your own taxes, so it's a really rough business. And the thing that, if nothing else, I just hope that through all the silliness, I am passionate about professional wrestling, but through out the silliness, I just hope that the average person realizes the sacrifices one goes through to be successful in this business. I mean, it is a grueling business to partake in it. So I just salute all the men and the women who put their lives and body on the line. Now,
like, the NFL has implemented, you know, safety rules in order to protect their athletes. Has the wrestling kind of done the equivalent to that? Or
They have. As you guys may remember, there were an awful lot of chair shots, that is, steel chair to the head, in yesteryear, but that has been banned. They no longer do what is considered in the professional wrestling business as blading, which is taking a razor and gigging the forehead so one can bleed. Blood-borne diseases, of course, have put a halt to that. So yes, they have done a lot of things to try to, you know, protect the performers, and, you know, I give them credit for that. So yes, there has been, but maybe not enough. But then again, it's like football. This ain't ballet. So, you know, there is a physical aspect to this.
I honestly believe if people had come out, or lawmakers, or whoever, the people that are making the rules now, hadn't come out and complained about this, I think Vince McMahon would still be doing what he was doing before.
I agree.
Steroids. I think I will be 100% honest. I think Vince McMahon is a piece of shit.
Vince McMahon, the person, versus Vince McMahon, the character, are one and the same, in my opinion.
I think he's a maniac.
Because when he became the character, it wasn't until, and you can say that I'm wrong on this, but for me, he didn't become the character until the Montreal Screwjob.
Absolutely. Yep.
Because wrestling and everything that went inside the ring was scripted. Outside of the ring, it had nothing to do with that. Everything was scripted. But when he screwed over Hart the way he did, and Hart spit on him, but you know, when they put him in that sharpshooter and he spit on Vince McMahon, that's when the characterization became Vince McMahon the villain.
Dude, that loogie was fucking massive. That was a hunk of mozzarella coming out of his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Disgusting. Disgusting.
And he sat there and he drew in the middle of the... I remember seeing the highlights of this. WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it became that whole big thing because they were offering him this pot of money, you know, old Ted Turner over Turner Classic.
Yeah,
Ted.
but they ended up fucking Bret Hart anyways.
Yeah.
He got paid, but he didn't meet nowhere near the stock he had in the WWF.
I was going to ask you guys, who is your all-time favorite from... Well, no, we could just do in general. Who is your favorite? Because I have a golden age wrestler in mind specifically, and I think maybe I kind of can tell who's everyone's favorite is, except for maybe E, and I'm going to throw a guess out here and say Ultimate Warrior.
Close. Very, very close, but no. Very close.
Well, I got Bruiser Brody.
Wow.
The stuff that he was doing in, what was it, Puerto Rico? Or it was,
Yes.
well, I know it was like Mexico, but the stuff that he was doing with Abdullah the Butcher, it's just massively insane. These death matches that were happening in Japan, it was a whole start of like Bruiser Brody, Mankind. Those are my guys. Or Cactus Jack.
That's who I was going to say, man. Damn it. I was going to say
sorry.
Mick Foley. Dude.
Well, Mick Foley. You got Dude Love, you got
Dude
Mankind.
Love, Cactus Jack, Mankind. Yeah, Mick Foley. And I mean, anybody who can lose a testicle and still wrestle, hey.
Oh, my God.
Hey, man. Hey, you can't be mad at Mick Foley, dude. Yeah. Do your thing, dude.
Amen.
Yeah.
E, who is your all-time favorite?
You know, it's funny. I was just asked this question, and every year I have to reshuffle the deck. But to answer your question singularly, my all-time favorite wrestler has to be Ravishing Rick Rude. One of the absolute most entertaining individuals. If you don't know who he is, Google him. Throw him into the YouTube machine there and see what it produces, because he was just phenomenal. Entertaining today, tomorrow, forever. Ravishing Rick Rude.
Ravishing Rick Rude.
Holy shit. Yeah, no, dude. He was the perfect heel.
Definitely.
Like, honestly,
Fat,
all the time.
Ugly, out of shape, Detroit sweat hogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Ric Flair.
Well, like I say, I reshuffle the deck every couple of years. So, I mean, you know, but pound for pound, I think I have to go with Rick Rude. And I love Ric Flair. And shout out to Bobby Lashley, who is the current WWE champion, a black man who is just phenomenal. Bobby Lashley is the current champion, and he is amazing. So he could very well easily have been one of my favorites, too. But I'm going with Rick Rude. Rest in peace, Rick Rude.
Do you like the current content that you're getting from WWE? Because I'm noticing that there's quite a few people of color who are now wrestling now that are being more prominent.
The New Day. The
Bootio cereal. The Bootio cereal.
Yes.
They had a Bootio. Eat more booty.
Before you answer that question, Don, who is your favorite?
I was, at first, you know, kind of like E. Like, I was more old school as far as, like, I was golden age. It was Hulk Hogan for a long time. Then it was Ultimate Warrior. And then, after I really thought about it, what got me back into wrestling for a brief time when I was in high school, it was The Rock, man. So I'll say The Rock. It's The Rock.
The Rock. Can I do an honorable mention? Gold Dust.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Gold Dust,
Fuck
anyone?
Yeah. No, 100%. Goldust was a fucking performer. If you could get the audience involved and fuck with, like, Goldust for me was awesome because he would fuck with the other wrestlers. And like most of them, you know, probably weren't used to a dude trying to grab their dick.
Yeah. But his father was Dusty Rhodes. That was his real dad.
Yeah. And then Cody Rhodes is his brother?
Any Undertaker love or Kane love from anybody?
Well, Undertaker.
Yes. Come on. Undertaker is legendary. He is one of a kind. There will never be another individual quite like him. Yes. Let props to the Undertaker.
Because he had like 2 successful transformations where like
Yeah.
the classic Undertaker. You didn't like the motorcycle?
Yeah, no, it's like a fucking American Badass Kid Rock bullshit. And I'm like, come on, dude, get over yourself.
I was not a fan of that Undertaker, but I remember the storyline when Undertaker's wife got kidnapped by DDP. And that was a whole thing because they could not figure out who it was that had kidnapped Sarah. I think her name was Sarah. They couldn't figure it out, and come to find out it was DDP who had went insane or some shit like that. The funny thing about Diamond Dallas Page is he tried to sue Jay-Z over the
rock,
the diamond, the rock symbol. So he tried to sue because he was like, I did it first. So, it did not go over well.
Jesus Christ, Diamond Dallas. Well, like, he's got his fucking yoga shit. Jay-Z did that first. What the fuck is he talking about?
What, the rock, the diamond symbol?
Well, yeah, but he did the whole, like, he broke it in half, was the diamond cutter.
Yeah.
But this is just, that's...
Hey, so I also want to bring up another good storyline. Who hit Stone Cold in the limo? Yeah. Do you remember that?
I remember.
Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
And who it turned out to be? Rikishi.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, fucking Rikishi.
Rikishi, and what was the name of the tag team that he was coming out with?
Oh, Too Cool.
Too Cool.
Too Cool. Yeah. I used to try to do the worm. Every time dude would do it, I would try to do the worm, dude, because I just love that move, man.
Scotty Too Hottie.
Scotty Too Hottie, yeah.
Was it Scotty Too Hottie that passed away?
No, that was actually Grandmaster Sex A, Brian Pillman, who was Jerry Lawler's legitimate son.
Yep. Yeah. See, and this is what most of this podcast is probably going to have is at least 1 or 2 people dying every paragraph.
These poor guys, like, they are larger than life in the ring, but outside the ring, they're just human, and that immortality doesn't last. The legacy does, but the immortality of the ring doesn't.
Very well said. Very well said.
A good representation of what wrestling was. Hey, did you guys see the movie The Wrestler?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
Yep, I thought that was a pretty decent representation of some of the Golden Age wrestlers because it was based off of Jake the Snake Roberts.
It was a pretty good movie. I mean, I know that there are a lot of wrestlers hated how it depicted the back end of it, but it's true. But yes, I enjoyed it.
They hated it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I think it showed like a little too much, the planning and whatnot, because there is that, there are some people I think still think it's real, which I'll be honest with you, it kind of is. With the hits that these guys take,
yes,
with the jumps, with the
physical,
back in the day, the chair jump.
It's still a sport.
Yeah,
but it's a sport. It's a sport that
sports entertainment.
Well, yeah, well, it's on Bleacher Report. But anyway, it is. It does have a following, but it is entertaining. I guess you could equate it to monster trucks almost. Like there's an entertainment value to it, but these are people, not your favorite driver. These are actual people who are doing the collision course with one another.
Yeah. Actually, John, what is your earliest memory?
My earliest memory of wrestling was I was in the Boy Scouts, and I went to the Palace of Auburn Hills to see Mankind wrestle against The Undertaker. Wow. And at the time, I was pretty young. So I remember going and being awestruck, seeing this arena, and the palaces, and it was an immaculate place to go. So to see all these people cheering for these two dudes to bludgeon each other was just an awestruck thing. And I remember the theatrics of it is what I fell in love with. Because when Mankind came out, I could not figure out if this dude was a human or an ape. I just couldn't figure it out because he had that mask on. So I didn't know. And at that time, I think Mick Foley was a heel for that particular match because Undertaker came out with Paul Bearer. And when Undertaker would come out...
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Yes. When he would walk the tightrope of the ring, but when he would walk the tightrope of the ring and would have the opponent's arm and then just jump down, I was just like, wow, man, this is unreal. Like, as a kid, I was just so enthralled by watching all this. So it was fantastic. That's my earliest memory of wrestling, is going to see that match.
My earliest memory, I was pretty young, but I can remember not really the specifics of how I got to see a wrestling match, but it was definitely Macho Man in his prime with his girl, Scary Sherry. But I can only remember that this was the only form of entertainment that an adult didn't put me on. Like, my brother didn't put me on as far as influencing me to watch. It was just something I found, and it was the first thing that I could claim as a kid that was mine. But as far as the match itself, I just remembered it came on Saturday mornings or afternoons, right? I
think it was mornings.
Mornings in Detroit.
Mornings in Detroit, man. And I remember Macho Man coming out in the throne with Scary Sherry.
Oh, yeah!
At that time, rooted for Hulk Hogan, but Macho Man was definitely the second guy that I probably gravitated to the most. But I remember early 90s, maybe late 80s, I just found it. It was one of those times, you know how your parents did. If they didn't have a babysitter for you, the next best thing was TV. So they just turned on the goddamn TV.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah, and I just found it. And it was just oh shit, what is this?
TV was a babysitter for a lot of millennials in the early
it still is.
And stuff like that. Still is. I can tell you that with Macho Man, his personality was larger than life, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, we all got to do an impression. Everybody got to do an impression.
Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Dig it. Oh, yeah!
Oh, dig it!
And let me say one thing here. Not to be that guy again.
Okay.
However, in the fall of 1999, I was privileged to meet Randy Savage at an autograph signing with his beautiful girlfriend, and he was a great guy. I went to shake his hand, and I always had a pretty firm handshake, even as a younger fella. And I remember kind of clutching it tight because I felt like this is a massive man. This is Macho Man. This is the guy I grew up, And so when I grabbed his hand, I said, "Thank you, man. You provided me with a lot of years of entertainment." And he looked at me with such shock and astonishment.
Wait, how old were you?
I was in sophomore. I was sophomore, but I am and was a little
in high
guy.
school.
But yes. And his girlfriend was there, gorgeous George. I grabbed her by the hand and told her she was a very beautiful lady. And it was just a very memorable experience. But I had to throw that in when we're talking about the man, Macho Man Randy Savage. I had the privilege of meeting him and getting his autograph. Bloomfield Hills at Murray's Auto Parts in the fall of 1999.
Talk about a throwback. Fuck.
Off the top rope. Murray's.
Murray's?
Yes, sir.
Was he shopping there? What is he doing there?
Yeah, weird. I think there was some type of cross promotion with the Murray's mascot and Savage having.
He looked like that dude.
Right.
But I was just going to say real quick before we move on is I remember two pivotal things with Macho Man. Macho Man being in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man, and I remember him Bonesaw in Spider-Man, and I remember him. He was and a lot of people don't remember this cartoon, but Dexter had a cartoon within a cartoon called Dial M for Monkey, and he played Razlor, the fabulous wrestler from another planet, and it was just unreal hearing Macho Man doing this cartoon character. And he had to wrestle Earth's mightiest heroes, and Monkey ended up beating him. It was just hilarious because he's like, "I do not like your foot so high. I do not like it, samurai." Because he had to fight the Silver Samurai. It was fantastic, dude. It was great. Oh my god,
amazing!
Yeah, you got to look that up, man. Razlor. And his
amazing.
Yeah, Razlor. That was his name. And he ended up having to fight. Ring partner was Fly Guy. which was a shot at Don King. It was a fly with Don King hair, which was great.
I was going to say, like, more of the important characters, especially when wrestlers just could not act. Well, like Undertaker, he could, but he was stone-faced all the time, so he had Paul Bearer to show that emotion. Like, the guys that were in their corner a lot of the time were just as important as the wrestlers themselves. Like the Bobby
the Brain Heenan.
Bobby the Brain, yes. Who, by far, one of the best cornermen, heel
without a doubt,
around.
Yes.
Who is the best corner man? That's your best corner man of all time?
Yes, I think so. Paul Bearer was really good too.
Yeah, he was.
I think I have to go with Bobby. Bobby was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He
Bobby
really
the Brain.
was. Yes, he commentary as well. He's quite funny. Him and Gorilla Monsoon. I mean, they have a tandem, a classic back and forth energy and chemistry that is just unbelievable. But I think I'd have to go with Bobby the Brain Heenan as one of the best managers of all time.
Agreed, because he was able to help, Andre the Giant, as big as he was, it's as soon as that was basically the catalyst for WrestleMania 3. All of a sudden, Bobby the Brain Heenan comes in behind Andre the Giant, and Andre the Giant then rips Hogan's shirt and crucifix, and then you're just shitting on all the little Hulkamaniacs. You're shitting on America, and you're shitting on Jesus. Rip the shirt of that great American. Once again,
Hogan.
Yeah, I was gonna say once again, to follow E, fuck Hulk Hogan.
Yes. Can I just make sure that I'm recorded saying this? Fuck Hulk Hogan. And I gotta say, I don't want everyone to know I had my last Santa Claus is not real moment in the summer of 2015 when I heard about the ridiculous, disgusting things that he said. And there's one thing to make mistakes. There's one thing to be recorded when you didn't know you were being recorded. But it's another thing to be confronted with this. And this is my major problem with him to this day. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta get this out.
Do it. Preach.
He is the biggest coward whom I have no respect for, because any man or any woman who has any type of respect or dignity about them, when they are confronted with something that they've done wrong, they stand up and say, you know what? I did something that was wrong. I apologize for that, and I will work to make sure that that type of behavior never happens again. And perhaps along the way, I can help others see that that is not the way. But this coward of an individual, and I'm saying this as a man who I just idolized growing up, this coward of an individual backtracks at every turn. Well, when I was growing up, see, we used to greet each other by that name, or when I was, he never just straight said, hey, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I was wrong. Perhaps even helping within the black community. But he was a coward who took the shortcut route and always saying, well, I did it, but he says it, I did it. But they said, no. Be a man, like Savage said. Be a man, Hulk, and admit to your wrongdoings and say I was wrong, and don't put anything on the back end of it. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'm sorry, guys.
No, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And kudos to you, sir, for bringing that out, because I hope that fucker hears this episode just to hear.
Brother, I can't be racist, brother, because I have black friends. And
that's basically what he said, didn't it?
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, when that incident occurred, didn't some black wrestlers come out and was like, yo, I know this guy? And he, didn't some wrestlers come out and just were dumbfounded by him?
Well, yes, there were several wrestlers who, or several individuals, but then the fellas that you mentioned earlier, the New Day and Titus O'Neil, black performers within the company today, they said that when Hogan got in front of all of the people in WWE and apologized, the apology wasn't, I was wrong, forgive me, don't do this. His apology was, in today's era, with phones and everybody watching, watch what you're doing at all times. So it wasn't.
He apologized for getting caught.
Yes.
Rather than the content of what's being said, he apologized for being caught, and that's not an apology. That's not an apology at all.
I just want to tell the little Hulkamaniacs out there, don't get recorded saying the N-word. What, Hogan?
Wow, great advice.
Jesus Christ.
Bravo.
Don't get fired on your day off. Hey.
I heard about that too, and the complete and utter bullshit as to his apology. He's made no attempt to whatsoever, and it's like,
yes,
the song that was played for him all the time is
Real American.
Real American.
I am a real American. Well, yeah, I guess technically you are based on history and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. All right, well, yeah.
Yes.
But before that, everybody that was their number one wrestler like me. Cause,
my God.
Hogan was my guy.
I'd go, well, actually, you know what? It wasn't, because a lot of people were already hearing stories about what had happened in the WCW with Hogan, not being able to work with people, the whole Bret Hart situation, because Bret Hart was my guy for a little bit.
Okay.
And the whole situation that happened in WCW, Hogan would not give up the belt ever. And when he did, and Nash ended up getting it, basically what happened, this is where WCW just started tanking. Because Eric Bischoff didn't know how to control the wrestlers. These guys all had stakes in the, stake in the company.
Yes.
So they were going to do whatever they wanted to do. Hogan, Nash, Hall. It was just a free-for-all. What ended up happening was Hogan goes up to Nash and taps him on the arm. Nash falls over, and then the belt switches. The belt switched on WCW Nitro. Okay? The belt, for me...
Awful.
Maybe I'm an old school guy when it comes to this. The belt should have always been transferred during a pay-per-view or a big event, and the fact that it was a disgrace to wrestling, and fuck them.
Well, extrapolate on that, man, because you were talking about the pay-per-view take earlier. So I think for the audience, why don't you, for us hometown boys from Detroit, extrapolate on why that would happen and pay-per-view wouldn't have mattered to us at that time.
You mean, wait, so you're talking like WCW, so these two situations happen almost 10 years apart.
Okay, all right.
So Andre the Giant and everything, the reason why they didn't want, so WrestleMania, back to WrestleMania 3 real quick, the reason why they didn't want to supposedly have the pay-per-view in Detroit or the Michigan area around Pontiac Silverdome was to get more people there. McMahon knew what he had because of WrestleMania 1 and 2. And I think WrestleMania 1 was in Madison Square Garden in 1985. I'm not exactly sure the date.
3 different locations, New York, Chicago, and L.A.
Oh,
yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. It's all right. Was that Mr. T was involved with that one?
Mr. T was involved with the first and the second. Mr. T
Yep.
was in the main event of the first, and he boxed Rowdy Piper in the second.
Rowdy Piper. Damn, why didn't I think of him earlier? Yeah,
So-
Rowdy Piper, man.
So with that, they wanted more people to get in there. Vince McMahon knew what he had. What is it? Vince McMahon Sr. had just passed away, 3 months earlier, I believe. And so there was kind of like an uproar. There was like that magic in the air. And then they got the 93,000, people in there. With this, for me, and it's old school when it comes to wrestling, I always thought that the belt should switch during a pay-per-view because it makes it more prestigious. It makes the belt more important. Because if it's switching during, and this is the heavyweight championship of the world. I think the Intercontinental belt had changed. The tag team belt had changed, on Raw or something like that. But you never saw that happen. And then WCW did that. And then I kind of think they do it now, I think all the time, which kind of defeats the purpose. Like you're seeing two fucking titans, two burly, oiled up men wrestle each other, for all the little kids, like the villain versus the bad guy. I don't know. It was like, because I do think of it, sport entertainment. These guys go through a shit ton. They also have to be pretty decent actors. You have to be well-rounded in everything when it comes to wrestling. And people will probably, if someone approached me out of nowhere, like I was a kid in high school that was like, oh, did you see The Rock fight? Like all that stuff. And then I get thrown into a locker, which is fine. It's fine.
Aaron, I do have a question I want to ask
Yes,
you
sir.
about what you spoke on in terms of the titles being exchanged or won or lost at the big events. Now, looking at the business from all perspectives, do you think it adds a layer of realism when a title can in fact be exchanged at not the biggest event? Now, granted, in the past years, they have played hot potato with the title. Many titles where it doesn't mean anything. But do you understand my question? Do you believe it adds a layer of realism? Because then the audience, us, we never know what might happen. So we always have to tune in. We always have to go to the events because you just never know what might happen.
I get it. I just think it takes away the importance of it, what that belt means. I think it just, in a sense, because I do agree with you to some extent, where it's like it throws you for a loop. You could do shit. They could lose the belt tonight. We got to watch, big fucking Brock Lesnar, who I'm not going to talk shit about because if he ever finds out where I live, he's going to kill me. I'm terrified of that, man, even watching him on TV.
Brock was a motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went to MMA too, right? And was dominating over there
for a minute.
You fuck up a move with Brock Lesnar, he's going to make sure you know about it by just punching you in the fucking face for real. But the whole thing is, it loses... I think it loses the importance of it. Like the heavyweight title or titles in general, tag team and all this stuff, because the pay-per-views that I remember the most is when those belts switched hands. You have tables, ladders, and chairs.
Oh my.
Christian versus nice. With Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys versus the Dudley, the Dudley Boys. Go ahead.
That was another storyline that crossed into the realm of reality when Lolita left Christian and went with one of the Hardy... Lita, yeah.
Yeah, Lolita. What is that? That's a book about a underage girl.
Yeah, Lolita.
Same thing.
All experience. Anyway,
We got listeners now like checking our stats. Did you see that, John, on Twitter? He said I think you fucked up something last episode. I can't believe he said. I'm like, what the hell? That's good. They're listening now.
They're listening though. I gotta give them something to fucking talk about.
Oh, I know I do every episode. I'm fucking up. So,
but yeah, Lita left. I think it was one of the Hardys or Christian Edge, and it was just unreal, man. Like they got into a real off-scripted battle, and they got scripted into real life.
Matt Hardy was, I don't know if they were married, but it was boyfriend and girlfriend with Lita, and what ended up happening was Lita cheated on Matt Hardy with Edge.
Yes, that's what it was.
And then there's the whole it actually came to reality, and there's a scene where Edge and Lita are under a bed and they're doing whatever. That was Attitude Era. And that's where everything was fucked up. You didn't even know if you were going to see a titty on a pay-per-view. And we're watching the entire time. Sable, what's her name?
China? Was China during that time?
Yes, she was there during the Attitude Era.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
But actually, Miss Kitty was one of the ones who actually went on ahead and revealed her breast on pay-per-view.
No, it's okay. You can say titty.
Who revealed their titties?
Miss Kitty. What is it?
Her real life name is Stacy Carter. She was married to Jerry Lawler. In December 1999, she bore her breast on pay-per-view. Armageddon was the show, and she showed her titties. Titties.
Love it.
She bore her breasts.
But as a kid, you're looking at it, it's oh, there's a booby.
Was it like Janet Jackson during the Super Bowl? Was it really fast? It was like a peekaboo, and then
it was both of them.
It was both of them.
Oh,
yeah.
Who was the best female wrestler?
China.
Yeah,
China.
I like Stratus too. She grew on me.
Yeah, China.
What was her name?
I gotta say, Trish Stratus. She was. She was fantastic.
I like.
But I'm thinking old school because a lot of the female wrestlers. Yeah, female wrestlers now are I'll be 100% above and beyond the Attitude Era, and
it's not even
they
close.
are insane, on par with a lot of the male, equal to the male wrestlers.
Yes.
These women are insane with some of the shit that they do. So props to them.
Yes.
But yeah, actually, toys. I was gonna say, like, I didn't really get into a lot of the Attitude Era toys after that and whatnot. I was always into, and still am into, the like Golden Age wrestlers where you could just take, like, I think Ultimate Warrior, all you could do with him was push him down and then he'd jump up the spring. And then there was some that had like a super punch, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
The toy line was based on the superstars of WWF, WWE. Hasbro was the company that did the manufacturing from the 90s, from 1990 to 1994. And they pretty much had what you said, like action springs and different little maneuvers that they could do. You push down an Ultimate Warrior, he'll bounce up, or you twist the body of one of them and it could do a super punch or something like that. So collectors have been very excited for these toys, and they're worth a lot of money right now if you have the original still in the cardboard and plastic cover.
Or they're probably worth like thousands.
Eric collects all the motherfuckers.
You know, I'm embarrassed to say that a couple years I sold a great portion of my Hasbro collection for a pretty fair coin. Needed the money at the time, but yes, there is, especially today, a thriving secondary market for WWF Hasbro figures. They are the Rolls Royce of wrestling collectibles in many ways.
What's the most sought after one from that era?
One that I think there's three. There is a Kamala with a moon on his belly, as opposed to the normal production run of a star and a moon. So it's Kamala. It is, which I had this and I sold it like a damn fool, Bret Hart as a mellowway with a purple heart on his singlet as opposed to a pink heart. And then there is a Undertaker that was sold as a magazine mail away in his cloak, his long coat. And there is also a Greg Valentine in his rhythm and blues gear with black hair that never was released, but a prototype exists, and it's gone for thousands, literally thousands of dollars. So, yes.
I did some research on that era because they came with cards too.
Yes.
And the cards with the action figure have fetched over $1,000. So it's just been phenomenal, the type of support these action figure and cards have gotten. A very limited number of Hasbro action figures were released on a dual card, mainly being the US/French figures. You had Dusty Rhodes, Brutus Beefcake, Rick Rude, Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect, Hulk Hogan, Macho King, Coco Beware, and the Rockers are the known examples of that. There were some unreleased prototypes, but wrestling also had magazines too. So, I remember seeing the wrestling magazines, like when the school would do the reading challenges, and if you signed up for so many books and read them, you could get a subscription for it free for a year. So you get like the wrestling magazines or
what?
Or
dude, they only fucking offered Christian bullshit at my school.
I went to Catholic high school, and they were like, if you sign up for Sports Illustrated, you're not going to get the swimsuit edition. Bullshit. So people would sign up for Sports Illustrated to get the swimsuit edition, and as soon as it came in the mail, my door was shut. So
the WWE magazine, I didn't know it stopped production in 2014.
Yes, it was just a cost-cutting measure. And with, damn near every publication, it's hard to really, in this internet era, since, it's hard to maintain any type of real publication. So they just cut a loss and eliminated it.
Has it switched to online, or they just cut it completely?
They just cut it. I mean, with the subscription service, they cut it completely. But I think, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it come back in some shape or form.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is WWE Network still going? Like the actual?
Well, it actually it rolled over into the Peacock Network, which I'm not a fan of that name whatsoever. So now,
What, because of cock?
Yes.
Sorry, that was a poor joke.
Yeah, because I saw that WrestleMania was on there.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Surprised by that. I was like, on Peacock? Really?
Yeah, I noticed it just recently too, that like everything switched, because I remember seeing a buddy of mine, he had given me the WWE Network. Yeah, they had all the documentaries on there. Like I was pretty stoked at watching all that stuff. But now, yeah, it's completely gone. Like,
yes, it exists in America. America and I believe Canada are the only two places where we have reverted or moved over to the Peacock. And the bad thing about this Peacock is that everything hasn't come over yet. So, I mean, I'm the type of guy that wants to see Starrcade 89 or SummerSlam 92, and all of that stuff hasn't quite been transferred to the Peacock Network. But let me just say that the network proper, man, what a godsend. I didn't really have time until the pandemic to truly indulge, but that was one of the single greatest invention of ever. I mean, that thing was amazing. It had everything you could possibly want as a wrestling fan from yesteryear to today. So the network, may it rest in peace, as we knew it, was a phenomenal application.
Yeah, the merchandising, like you said, man, it's so much stuff that we could talk about with WWE, WWF. The merchandising is just through the roof. I remember the Slam Buddies, those big stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't called Slam Buddies. They're called something else. I can't think of them now, but they were, I remember in the early 90s when they first came out,
you had Hogan, Macho Man.
Yep, Ultimate Warrior. There were like these
Ted DiBiase.
Like wrestling teddy bears almost, but they were the humans and you could wrestle them and stuff like that. So you had that, and then the ice cream.
Good God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The wrestling.
They still have the ice cream, I think.
Yeah, ice cream is still available, I think.
Well,
I think they took them away and then they brought them back.
It. Can you guys, and if anybody's out there, supposedly they've come back, but for the life of me, I've never found them in any stores. I was able to find some Star Wars bars that were quite comparable, but they're not the WWE kind. So if you guys ever, or anybody listening, knows where I can get the WWF ice cream or WWE ice cream bars, please let me know.
I bet you they're still in Florida. Florida's so ass backwards. So, they're probably still down there.
I got Jolt Cola going there.
There goes our fans from Florida.
What the fuck did he say?
I think they already know. So,
yeah.
Are those ice cream bars, really that hard to find? Because I remember, man, that was one of the few things that I look forward to in the summer. When the ice cream man first showed up, it was like a big rush. All the kids rushed the fucking ice cream truck, and everybody was looking for that Macho Man ice cream bar, man, or whatever printed wrestler you had.
I gotta tell you, it was really, really good. Like I grew up with a lot of girls on my block who didn't necessarily follow wrestling. Some of them did, but I mean, people who didn't even follow wrestling wanted to get these things. They were really good. That's no gimmick. These things were phenomenal. And I don't know why they discontinued them for that brief period. But like I said, anybody knows where to get some, send me a note.
I think it comes with the bars and everything like that, wrestling, it does have to, like, it has this ebbs and flows, this wave kind of, where it gets real popular for a little bit, then dies back down, I think, with, getting rid of the ice cream bars, because they did disappear for a little bit in between Attitude Era and the golden era of wrestling, where a lot of people weren't watching. And now, right now, I think, Attitude Era came up. You saw them again. You saw the magazine. I know the magazine did very well because everyone wanted to see Sable and, like all these other wrestlers. And then I think with AEW, I think it can only go up from here because now they actually have someone that I do think is a legitimate, once people get back into the arenas and are able to see these shows, they're going to be a very big competitor. And I think this is the only thing maybe I agree with capitalism. It does, it just boosts ratings for both. And then you have a ratings war, and it's back to like how I remember WWE and WCW going back and forth. Monday Night Nitro, Monday Night Raw, and then you had SmackDown after WCW decided to put out Thunder on Thursdays.
Yes.
And they were just going toe to toe the entire time. So when you have that competition, it only makes for better entertainment.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We need that. You need competition. There shouldn't be a monolith of entertainment under one roof. So especially within wrestling, because it's so many talented entertainers out there. They need to have their time to shine, and I really don't care about Vince McMahon making another fucking dime, if I have to say anything about it.
Yeah.
Damn.
But I just want to say one thing before we close here, guys. I'm old enough to when the term geek and nerd wasn't cool. So I don't use those terms because I'm too cool to be a geek or a nerd. But you might just call me a wrestling geek. You might just call me a wrestling nerd, and it excites me. So if at any point in time here I got a little too excited, I got a little too in my feelings, you just have to forgive me because I am a diehard, passionate, professional wrestling fan, and it looks like I'll always be.
Dude, do you understand, like, to us, you are E, the biggest dicked motherfucker I know. So anything you say is golden. And if anyone complains, giant crybaby bitch Aaron is coming after you.
I will say, man, your exuberance for wrestling has been good because it just ignites in me wanting to go and body slam someone through a table right now. But,
was that your favorite move, John, back then? Body slamming?
Body slam through the table? Tables, ladders, and chairs?
Yeah.
That and Hell in a Cell. I love that.
Aaron, what was your favorite move?
Camel clutch, Iron Sheik, I will humble you.
What was yours, Eric?
DDT.
Fuck yeah, man. Jake the Snake.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Stone Cold Stunner.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Mm-hmm. That was my shit. It was so disrespectful.
The people's elbow, man. The
people's elbow.
The people's elbow.
Just a goddamn elbow drop. That's all it was.
Yes, but it was for the people. It was for the people.
The people.
It was for the people.
Right.
So, just remember that shit.
Find new episodes every Wednesday where you listen to podcasts, and look for us on all the social media sites and Gmail at After School Special Podcast at Gmail, After School Special Podcast at Instagram and Facebook, and After School SPE3 on Twitter. Giant crybaby bitch, Aaron Smith.